I'm going to get the highest grades, and studying isn't going to have anything to do with it.
Kim wants to graduate from Malibu High with honors. Most kids do it by making grades. Kim does it by making appointments.
What are you doing after school? If you're interested, I'll be at High Point.
I'm not interested.
High Point. I'll be there.
She's studying with the best instructors at Malibu High. And if she can't learn enough from 9 to 3,
You game for a little game?
she takes her teachers on a field trip.
Well, that's an offer hard to resist.
Then don't.
Malibu High, where the most important subject is physical education.
How are you, Miss Beckley?
The best, sir. I need extra help, Mr. Mooney. I mean personal help. Couldn't we get together after school?
From history to physics,
The next report cards are about to come out. I want you to know what grade I expect.
About your grades, Miss Beckley. Truly remarkable.
from botany to driver's ed.
What grade do you expect?
An A.
All A's in all of your classes except Miss Damon's English class?
This is the story of a schoolgirl named Kim.
I don't understand. You never seem to study anymore.
Relax, Mr. Elmhurst. Enjoy the view.
Who was the best in her class. Malibu High.
In a world where podcasts reign supreme, two friends dare to ask, do you even movie? Hosted by filmmaker Henrique David and movie aficionado David D. Neuer. Spoiler alert.
So, Dave,
So, Hem.
I feel like it's important to kind of address the elephant in the room. Why did you hate 28 Years Later so much?
I didn't hate it. I didn't.
You were so mad.
No, I wasn't
It was
mad.
startling.
I wasn't mad. It was more so, it had a lot of great things going. And you know, given that we are getting 2 more movies, it's basically going to be a trilogy movie or part 3 is going to be a trilogy, basically. It wasn't bad. It was just, they do something at the ending that really threw a curveball for me that kind of took me out a little bit.
Yeah, what? It was at the end.
It was at the end, yeah, but it was just like, it was so fucking wackadoo that it just kind of like what they had set up and what we had just witnessed for the closing of the film. Yeah, it was just a little off balance. That's basically what it was for me.
I mean, I think that was entirely the point.
Well, I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm more so just saying that's why I was kind of on the fence about it, because I was just like, eh.
I mean, you're not curious what that's all about?
No, I'm not saying I'm not curious. It was just that was just the initial watch.
What?
What are you asking? You're asking me.
I'm just asking how, like, why that seemed to kind of sour you to the whole film.
It didn't sour me the whole film. The film itself, I didn't love the movie. I thought it was fine. But I mean, I've not been the biggest fan of 28 days, except for like the first one. Like, I liked the second one when we revisited
the one with Sandra Bullock.
Yeah,
28 days.
But no, when we revisited them before we went to see it this past Saturday or Sunday, the first one I still love as much as I did when I first saw it. I'm not even sure I saw the second one. We were watching it this first time, so I think, because I didn't remember much of it. So so far I've really liked the first one, and I like what they're doing with the story. But overall, I don't know what I was expecting, but it just didn't hit it for me. It was still a good movie. And I think, honestly, on another watch, I might like it a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know. It just didn't hit for me super well with that ending. I like the world building that they have going on. I mean, it's just,
the fact that it wasn't really the ending as much as it was the bookend of that movie, though.
Yeah.
Because the plot of the first film was already done.
Yeah.
And then we were just kind of following the main character a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then we had that kind of whiplash moment to set up the next movie.
And I think that's why, and that's the thing is, like, you know, you and I talked about this at length when we got out of the movie. I think I was just so much into the closing that I thought we were getting for that movie. And then that happened.
But I mean, you did get the closing you were expecting for it. You just,
yeah, but it's the same thing with you, and I've had this conversation before with The Witch. If it would have ended with Philip going, you know, what do you desire? And credits, I think it would have been a really cool ending. Given I also like the ending, spoilers, where the women are floating and whatnot around the fire, like the classical witch look and whatnot. I get that. But I mean, that was basically it. It was just like, I wish it would have ended where that initial like ending was.
I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but the fact that they're setting up a whole other movie is kind of why it doesn't bother me tonally, because the whole concept is we just finished a story.
Yeah.
Now, if that had been the ending of that story,
Yeah.
I would have been pretty annoyed because it came out of nowhere. That's kind of the point, though, is
I
that
guess
it's out of nowhere.
My point is I don't really want 2 more movies, I'll be honest. I think that's kind of what it is. It's just like I'm kind of tired that it feels like we have to stretch things into 3 parts now, or 2 to 3 parts. Whatever.
You don't think it's fun?
I'm not saying it's not fun. It's more so just, I don't know. Like, I mean, it was fine. It was fine as it was, and I'm definitely curious to see where they're going. But it's just like, I don't know. It gets a bit exhaustive. That's what I'm kind of getting at for me.
So you were exhausted from the film?
Exhausted by the idea that we have 2 more to go. It's kind of like the same thing with The Strangers. Like, I've liked the Stranger movies so far that we've gotten, but it's just like, it seems like a lot of.
I thought you were amped about the idea of Rennie Harlan doing 3 Strangers.
No, I was. That's an exception to this. More so, what I'm saying is, it seems like a lot of things are doing that whole like 2 to 3 more movies out of initially what we thought was just gonna get the 1.
Sure, but I guess my point is, the movie did have an ending to the story we were watching.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I can't say exactly what because I don't want to spoil it. But it did have an ending.
I wouldn't call it an ending though, because they still left a bunch of stuff open.
I mean, perhaps, but I'm talking about the plot line
of that initial story
of the film.
No, I get that.
It's still pretty focused.
I get that. Yeah.
So that's kind of what I mean is like, to me, there's a difference between a to be continued and a we didn't wrap anything up.
What I've been like, because I've been thinking about this too since we watched it, since we watched all 3 of them. I really like the raw, visceral feeling of that first movie, given, the DV obviously helps with that.
Yeah, shooting on camera, camcorder video.
But it just feels like there was a lot. It feels like there was, for 28 weeks later and 28 years later, it feels like there hasn't been a lot of, how do I put this? Like the way that I was thinking about it was, it just felt like to me like there hadn't been a lot of really good emotionally driven. How do I want to put this? Because like both movies absolutely do have emotion, but it's just like there's a different feel to 28 Days Later than there is to the rest of them so far.
Well, I mean, I would say that's inarguable. I mean, that's very much the case. But I mean, 28 Days Later is not only, a pretty damn good movie, but it's also a product of its time.
Yeah.
Very, very much.
The last 2 haven't had like a really strong beacon of hope at the end of them, because you got the second one 28 weeks later, spoilers, with the shot of them running towards the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, sure.
And then leads into the third one, which I'm not going to say the ending of this one, obviously, but it's just like, I don't know, like it's a bit nihilistic if that's what I want to say.
I don't know about that.
That first ending's so strong.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I mean, I think, and that could be where I'm basing it off of. Is it just neither of them gave me that ending again, but I can't get that same ending again.
Oh, you mean the ending of the first film? I thought you meant the first ending of 28 years later.
No. The ending of the first film.
Yeah, it's a pretty good ending.
Yeah.
But I mean, in many ways, the ending of 28 years is somewhat uplifting.
Is it?
Well, it's meant to be.
I know, but
I mean, it's about moving on and growing older and understanding your parents as people, as other people, and not just as your parents.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, it's a pretty devastating ending in hindsight if you think about what happens and everything.
Yes, I mean, well, don't get me wrong. The movie is strange.
Yeah,
and that's on purpose.
Yeah,
I mean, it's strange, and it's got a very bent kind of, not morality, but it's got kind of a bent mindset.
Yeah,
but that's kind of just what you're getting, because you got to remember they're living in this post-apocalyptic world that's only on their island.
That's been broken off since 2002. Yeah.
As far as we can tell, everywhere else is somewhat normal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and we get a taste of that with the soldier cameo.
With the NATO soldier who has an iPhone.
Yeah.
And no, I agree. But like the ending being that the main character has gone through a journey, a very important journey, apparently learned a lot. And at the end he leaves, because I'm trying to be vague because I don't want to give away too much. I get it. But he leaves like it open that like he hasn't completely turned his back on anything or anyone.
No.
So I think that's an uplifting element.
I'll give you that.
So to me, that's where the story of 28 years later that we were watching, it ended at that moment where we kind of got the rundown of what's going on.
So I'll be perfectly honest when I say this, that the initial feeling I got at the end of the credits of 28 years later was I was like, shit, is this going to be a Kick-Ass 2 situation where the first movie is, building up, the hero and the characters and everything, and the second movie is nothing but consequences of the actions of the first movie.
I mean, I love Kick-Ass 2.
I do too. No, I do too. But that's what I'm saying, is just like, am I going to go through that same thing again with what happens at the end, the very end of this movie? I don't know.
I don't know if it'll be consequences, because most of it has already been wrought.
It has. It's just, it's just the characters that we meet at the very end of this movie. Just, I wasn't ready for them, and that could be why.
Well, but I mean, that's why I like it though. Is it's so clearly a sudden tonal shift. But like, if you put a sudden tonal shift like that before this movie that we just watched can come to its conclusion as far as story, then I would be very annoyed, because I'd be like, you spent all this time setting up all this stuff and then you just ran the other way, but they didn't do that. That's why well, the other part is too, that it ends with a massive cliffhanger, but we know there's going to be another one, because otherwise I'd be very annoyed by that too. I'd be like, what?
It gave me Dead Snow 2 vibes, like that ending. It gave me Dead Snow 2 vibes and like Feast 2-3 vibes, and that's why I'm just a little nervous. That's why it was kind of a, oh man, like that's. I mean, I get what it was.
I get what you're saying, but to me it was, while jarring the ending, it was very Danny Boyle.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
and that helped too, because not only does he do that kind of, this doesn't spoil anything. They did a sudden tonal shift from very trudging and serious and a little spiritual to a kind of hyper realistic, modern, but not really modern so much as like kind of old school.
I would say Kingsman is a good way to put it.
To pick another Brit that isn't Danny Boyle. But that's kind of my point, is that the tonal shift was to grab your attention, and I felt like it was also to kind of make it very clear, like, okay, that part's over. Like, this initial hero's journey is over.
It's over, yeah.
And now we've got this totally different one.
And that's, oh man, like, I see, like, this is the problem, is I keep thinking of other movies that have had that kind of feel to it. And another one is Train to Busan Peninsula. I really, really did not like that movie. Like, it was fine, but like it's nothing like the first one.
Did they leave Train to Busan open to a sequel, like, really clearly at the end?
Not really. I mean, the tunnel sequence is all you've got.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, I haven't seen Peninsula.
You're not missing much.
That's what I've heard. But I love Train to Busan so much.
Yeah.
But that's kind of my point, is we have this next movie coming, and it's coming very soon.
Yeah,
it's coming in January.
Yeah.
And obviously we're now prepared that it's going to be a tonal shift, which I like, because, if you're just, to me, I would be much more annoyed and I would be more fatigued, like you're describing.
Yeah.
If it was that the end of the movie was realizing we weren't at the end.
I get that.
I'm sick of that.
I would get that. No, I would get that. I think my biggest thing that I'm pulling from all of this, the more I think about it, is I'm just worried that we're going to get to action tripe of a zombie thing like we've seen in all the Walking Dead spinoffs and that stuff.
Yeah, but given the nature of all of the 28 movies, even because 28 weeks later is not bad,
no.
But it's also a very much a product of its time. It feels very much like the movies that came out in that time.
Yeah,
I wouldn't go that far.
Not generic. I would call it like almost like it. Like I don't want to call it generic. It's because I think
that's too harsh. But it's very much like the type of movie that was being made then
at that time.
But they did some interesting stuff. They managed. They leaned into the family dynamics. They leaned into the world building a bit. Now they really leaned into the world building in 28 years, which was really one of my favorite things.
And I did love that.
And you're going to get an immense amount more of that. That's clearly where we're headed.
Yeah.
Is to now the story is going to move along to another space. So I get your initial
I want
thought.
that feel of the movies that have retained so far with them being survival journeys and not straight up action movies. Because like even with 28 Days, you really don't get like a full on action movie at any point. You get the final climactic like in the castle and everything, obviously, but that's not even, I wouldn't call that an action sequence.
No, but here would be my question.
Yeah.
Do you actually think that the next film could even possibly be consistently the way that last scene was?
Yes.
I don't see how it could.
You don't see?
No.
I mean, Boyle's other works, like he's done some stuff like that I can think of.
Well, it doesn't matter. He's in directing the next one.
Yeah, I mean, he's not
that's the Nia. Is it Nia Costa or Nia DaCosta? Nia Costa. She's directing it, and I mean, based on her Candyman movie, which whether you loved it or didn't love it, I thought it was a pretty solid film. Yeah. I don't see it being like a music video goofball fest.
Yeah.
I think that part of it is, I really do think that the whiplash was helpful to kind of make you move forward from the story we just finished. That's kind of the vibe I got, was like, okay, because this is, you've heard me talk about this a lot, how like, it's not that I get frustrated when like a TV show ends and they have a cliffhanger. What I get mad about is when I feel like when I watch a whole season, it didn't accomplish anything for me.
Yeah.
When they're like, okay, and in a year we'll keep going.
Fucking
like,
Boys, the Boys last season.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say that, but at the same time, like that's the biggest one that I can think of. Because I remember just the end of the final last season of the Boys, I was just like, cool, you just did nothing but buffer for the next season. Because like I could have predicted all that was gonna happen.
Very, very much. And that's kind of my thought is, since they gave us everything we needed for that film for 28 years, they gave us everything we needed to appreciate that story. And then they were like, and the next thing that's coming is a bit out there.
Yeah.
I also think some of that could have had to do with the fact that it's through the eyes of a child.
Oh, that could be it too. Yeah. So
I just took it as them wanting you to know like, hey, that part's over. This is the next part. Because they don't want, I have a feeling that Boyle wouldn't want you to think that he just copped you out.
Yeah.
Because I respect him as a filmmaker very much as a storyteller. And I just don't, it's kind of like, when Back to the Future was ballsy enough to say like to be continued at the end of their movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't so frustrating because you had finished an entire storyline.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, again, that one was coming quick too.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing is like, if that ending had happened and 28 years later, the Bone Garden, right?
Yeah.
Bone
Garden.
I think so.
Yeah.
And that had not
Boneyard.
I think it's Bone Garden.
Bone Garden. Okay.
Either way, yeah. But if that weren't already in the can and ready to come out, I would have been annoyed.
Yeah.
Because I would have been like, okay, so you left me with a bunch of questions after we just finished a really good story.
Yeah.
But leaving me with questions and also being like, don't worry, in 6 months or whatever, you're going to get to go to the theater and watch it too.
And I can't be upset with that because I mean, Ty West did that with X, Pearl, and Maxine. And I mean, and all those were decent.
I mean, I think X is pretty good.
No, I love X. I love Pearl.
I think Pearl's phenomenal. And I thought Maxine was fun.
It's fine.
Mean, Maxine was them just having fun.
Yeah.
And not, for no care about, the audience or the story.
Yeah.
It just was a kind of a wrap up. Yeah. And it did feel like they had to come up with that later.
Yeah.
Which they did.
And they did, yeah. But no, I mean, I enjoyed that trilogy. So, I mean, like, it's not that I'm necessarily burned out on trilogies. It's more so it's just like, the anxiousness and the waiting and just being like, is this going to be worth it?
Well, but you're going to have that. I mean, we had that going into 28 years later.
Yeah.
We were like, is this going to be worth the immense wait from 28 weeks later?
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, it's like, I do understand where you're coming from. I just don't see it on this very much because they're just going to give us more interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's like the hardest part about sequel making really is like, how much of the same do you give?
Yeah.
And how much do you change? Because if you just give like more of the same movie, you run the risk of being like, see, I can't think of the example off the top of my head right this second, but like there are some films where I don't really remember which sequel I'm thinking of.
I get that.
And then there are films like even, I mean, like the big franchises that we grew up with. I can tell you which movie Freddy Krueger I'm remembering.
Yeah.
You know, I know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, they're all different. And 7, they're all different.
Yeah.
Even though they're continuations.
Yeah. I mean, I can pick apart Freddy. I can pick apart Leatherface. I can pick apart Michael. I can pick apart Chucky. Like those movies I have central remembering for.
Even 4 and 5, which do feel very similar.
Yeah.
You can still remember which one's which.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of my point is like, I like that I'm going to remember which 28 years later movie. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Because, well, and not just because of the whiplash, but they kind of gave you that whiplash, but then remember this too. He like ends it like that and then hands the keys to another director and goes, have fun.
Yeah.
Like go make it happen.
I mean, Adam Green did that with Hatchet 3.
Yeah. So that's kind of, that's a good example. Hatchet 1 and 2, I have trouble remembering the difference.
Oh, seriously?
A little bit. I'm not saying like,
I would think it'd be 2 and 3.
Maybe it's more 2 and 3.
I think it's more 2 and 3.
But that's not even a dig. It's just when they feel like one congruous thing, it's a risk.
Yeah.
It's taking a risk as a storyteller. And that doesn't mean that it'll always turn out poorly or that it won't be good. But I've definitely, as I've gotten older, I've started to appreciate things that I used to scoff at as a movie fan. Like, for instance, Jason looking different in every movie, having a different mask or once he got the mask and stuff. And now I look back and I'm like, nah, that's actually kind of nice because it helps me kind of like.
My biggest nitpick is still part 9 where he is reborn and then pops out exactly the exact same as we saw him at the beginning of the movie, like all molded out and whatnot.
He should have been a little boy like at the end of 8.
I mean, that would have been fine. I mean, he's also reborn with a machete somehow.
Well, but you know what? Jason Goes to Hell is a good point to bring up.
Yeah.
Because Jason Goes to Hell, many fans were unhappy with it. Many fans were disappointed with it.
Yeah.
But then, where'd my ashtray go?
Oh, no. Did I forget it? There's no way I forgot it.
I don't understand. I was about to ash, and then I was like, uh-oh. Typical Dave.
Talk amongst the audience for a second. Let me see.
Goodness. This is a first, kids. We have like a methodology when we do the show where Dave fills my water bottle while I'm setting up the cameras and lights and stuff, and he empties my cigar ashtray. That is bizarre. I wonder what happened. I hope he didn't drop my ashtray just into the trash. Oh, Dave. Well, he escaped me picking at his grumpiness, I suppose. What happened? Was it in the trash can?
No, I was carrying 2 water bottles, so I didn't.
Oh. Story as old as time itself. Yep. But no, so, but Jason Goes to Hell is a good example of kind of what we're talking about. It disappointed a lot of fans. It made a lot of people feel a lot of different ways, but it's very memorable.
Oh, absolutely.
Because of the weird and interesting choices it made.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I would agree if 28 weeks later, Bone Garden is, or 28 years later, if it's exactly like that 2-minute sequence the whole time, it'll just give you a headache.
Yeah.
But I think any filmmaker would look at that and go, well, this is just to establish like, what is going on here?
Just makes me nervous. That's basically what it is. Like I said, I didn't hate the movie by any stretch. It was just more so just like, I remember leaning over to you and being like, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah. But do you remember my response? I was like, oh yeah, but they are making another one. I heard that because I looked it up afterward. I was like, I'd heard that they already announced a release date for a sequel. So then I was like, oh, well, whatever they do, they're just going to pay it off. Now imagine though, in your mind's eye, imagine if there wasn't a sequel yet and then it didn't get made. that would really be a fucking skid mark on that movie.
That'd be a big middle finger to any viewer. Yeah.
Right. It would be. So that's kind of my mindset is like, I'm so glad that they're setting something up.
Yeah.
And that just kind of makes you go, oh, okay, what's next?
I mean, and I can't act like I'm somebody that's just like, oh, I don't want my movies to be the same. I mean, I fucking love the David Gordon Green trilogy for Halloween, and there's not a lot of people that do.
Yeah, and they all have pretty different tones,
yes.
which I thought was really smart.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, I can remember Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills separate.
Yeah.
There are a few little moments where I'll be like, oh wait, that was in Kills, or oh wait, that was, but they are a trilogy.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't forget Halloween Ends versus the others.
I think the easiest thing that I can say to wrap this up is for us to pivot to the other movie would be that they've done something that has still stuck to their formula so far, and it overall was really like enjoyable journey. Like I said, it wasn't without without trying that they really tried to bring forth a new story into this whole saga, but also keep in mind of what we loved about the originals. So I can't fault that, because there was a lot of stuff in this one that really did hone in on that feeling of the first and the second one, for that matter.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And the world building was just top notch.
It was.
Like, I hope if they do end up with a trilogy, which it looks like they will.
Yeah.
I hope that the third one, they just say screw it and go back in time.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'd love to learn more about this island community and stuff like that.
I would take an entire fucking movie on Ralph Fiennes' character.
Yeah.
I would gobble that shit up. Give me like a freaking Peacock 6-episode miniseries, and I would gobble that shit up.
You see what Dave does? He's like, I'm just tired. I mean, there's going to be more, but then he's like, give me a 6-part miniseries.
Give me a spinoff. Even though I'm terrible with TV shows, still have not finished MacGruber.
Oh, well, wow. That's not even long, is it?
It's not.
Sky. No,
dude, I'm so bad with TV shows.
Too busy watching Under Deck or whatever the hell it is.
No, Below Deck's done. Like, I mean, I've fucking ate that shit up real quick. Like, I basically most of my 2022 was watching that entire series and all the spinoffs, and then as new seasons and new episodes have come out, I've watched those as well. But I'm all caught up on every single thing of the series, not like After Deck or Below Deck after parties or anything like that. I've only watched the main series.
How many episodes is that?
So there's 10 or 11 seasons of the first series. You've got 5 seasons of Below Deck Mediterranean. You've got 3 seasons of Below Deck Down Under, and you've got 1 season of Below Deck, I think, Adventure.
So we're talking more than 100.
Oh, no, like a lot.
I'm bad at TV shows, but I just watched that one like every day.
I was binging that one. Like when my ex was together, like I was even chewing through that to the point where she was like, "Can we not watch Below Deck?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine, I guess."
When your ex was together before she got torn apart by rabid weasels.
My ex and I were together.
I know. I just thought it was funny.
It was funny.
Okay, good.
But yeah, no. On the other side of that, you have a franchise you have a movie like Megan that took a big swing with Megan 2.0 and took away the horror element and made it into a sci-fi action movie.
Yeah, which was a really interesting choice, but also like the options were to either do another horror movie with Megan, and I feel like they did do most of what they could do with Megan.
Yeah.
And the other option was let's lean into the science fiction element and let's make it an action-packed, fun thing.
Make it T2.
Yeah. They basically, I mean, because Terminator was damn near a sci-fi horror movie.
Yeah.
And then Terminator 2 comes out and it's sci-fi action. It's basically the prototypical action movie.
Say the same thing with Alien, because the first Alien's more of a suspense horror film and then goes into straight-up action for Aliens.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I feel like they kept the horror element a little bit more in Aliens. But yeah, but no, I would agree. That's kind of my point, is like when you have a movie that worked, and I thought Megan worked really well, it's like, I feel like if they had decided to try to keep the same tone, they would just be making Child's Play.
Yeah.
They'd be like, okay, so the doll comes back
again,
tries to kill whatever, and then or chooses another kid to chase after. Like, it would just be, it'd be Child's Play.
I thought there was a lot of creativity with Megan 2.0 in the development of what Megan has been doing in spare time of what we thought when she was disconnected, basically.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff about AI. There's a lot of stuff, which also makes sense because like when Megan came out, that was right before AI, like large language models and stuff became totally mainstream to the point where people are using them every day.
Yeah.
So that also added a really interesting element to have like this be about technology and the advancement of such. and, you know, the idea of like, where does technology fit in our world and things like that. So basically the long of short, although it ended up being way more interesting than they were presenting, it was, there's a new killer robot and now they have to bring Megan back to fight the killer robot.
Because it's Megan's build essentially that was stolen and made this new robot.
Basically, yeah. And there's the plot is much more interesting than that, though.
It really is.
It has a lot more to it. And also, one of the best things I could say about Megan 2.0, it didn't cop out why she was able to not be just a psycho.
Yeah.
They actually had a few different scenes where Megan really gets a chance to basically be like, this is why I'm, you know, why I'm different.
Yeah.
And like, I learn.
Well, and I love the fact that they also had to have the quandary in there of basically what is going to be a moral action and what is an immoral action. Like, can I kill or can I harm? Like, you know, what was that? And they started playing with that element too. And I loved that.
No, I really enjoyed it. I from what I've heard, it's not doing super well at the box office,
unfortunately,
which it bites, but I thought Megan 2.0 was really fun.
Yeah.
The characters were super likable and well fleshed out. Megan becomes extremely likable.
Yes.
Which I liked quite a bit. And I just really love that they genre jumped and didn't just, that they looked at this one and were like, this ain't Conjuring, you know, this ain't Insidious. We got to do something different.
They made her like, because I mean, you can say that when I say they made her a character in this one, she absolutely was a character in the last movie too. But more so, what I mean is she was way more involved with everybody in this one, to where you actually got to be like, oh, like there's a lot of different sides to her.
Yeah,
and I mean I really enjoyed that.
I would agree. So that's my thought.
Yeah,
you know, we saw two movies. And after we watched 28 Days and 28 Weeks. And then what was that movie called?
Faceless After Dark.
Horrible title for that movie. But we watched that. It was all right. It was pretty fun. It had some
problems.
But it had some, they were kind of like mild problems, but they were like, why are these problems here?
Yeah.
Like the movie felt very padded out and it didn't need to be.
No, it's a short movie as it is.
Well, but no, my point is it wasn't that short.
No.
Though. It was like, you could have cut 7 minutes out or 6 minutes out and it'd still be 80 minutes.
Yeah.
So the padding kind of felt like, what's the point? Yeah. Like, it'll be over 75 minutes. It'll be all right, you know, like it'll be fine. Corman got away with 78-minute movies all day long, but it was fun. It was an interesting concept.
Yeah, absolutely was.
So, but speaking of interesting concepts,
oh boy,
yeah, tonight's movie is Something Else.
It is indeed.
And while you're describing it, I'm going to go over and turn on the air purifier, which got killed during the power outage I had last week.
Oh, there we go.
I just noticed, I was like, boy, the room's getting smoky. So you tell them all about the film.
We are talking tonight about a film discovery of Enrique and I's from about a year and a half ago, from 1979. This is Malibu High. 1 hour and 30 minutes, rated R for strong sexual content, nudity, violence, disturbing images, language, and drug use.
I don't remember any of that in the film. I feel like the rating should say like, this is all that the movie is.
Say that's my rating.
Oh, that's
my rating.
Oh, you made that up?
I made that up.
Oh.
Strong sexual content. Yes.
Really? Yeah.
Nudity. Yes. Violence. Yes. Disturbing images. 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
Language. Yes. And drug use.
Yeah, that's all in there.
And then some.
All the things that make a trip to the beach great.
IMDb synopsis says, after being dumped by her boyfriend and about to flunk high school, Kim decides on major changes by using her body.
Well.
It's not wrong.
Well, no, it is very wrong, but that is the movie. That is the film.
That is the film. My synopsis says, when high school student Kim is having a tough time at school, she decides to work for a local pimp, leading to prostitution and eventually assassinations.
I mean, that's an accurate, but giving away how weird it gets with the assassinations.
Pretty nuts. Yeah.
I don't know if anybody would even watch it. I mean, aside from like, I mean, not in the era that came out. Now people will be like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally why we're talking about it tonight.
So only one tagline this week.
What?
Every teacher in school wanted to flunk her, but nobody dared.
That's a pretty good tagline.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Malibu High, currently available to stream on Fossum, Plex, Tubi, and you can also find a Blu-ray from Vinegar Syndrome, although I do believe it is either going out of print or already out of print at this point, so it might be a little pricey, but they did do 2 releases of it, a standard and a limited slipcover edition.
Oh, la la.
Yeah. Director on the film is Irvin Berwick. He gets his start in 1959 with The Monsters of Piers Bianca's. Goes on to do The Seventh Commandment in 1961, which he is a writer and producer on.
Okay.
Strained Compulsion in 64, which he's a producer on. The Street Is My Beat in 1966, which he's a writer and producer on. Ready for Anything in 68. Hitchhike to Hell in 77, which he produces. Suddenly the Light in 78, and then Malibu High in 79. We unfortunately lost him back in 1997, June 29th at age 82 due to heart failure.
Wow.
Yeah. I have not seen any of the other movies, unfortunately, so I cannot comment.
What was your research on? Jeez.
One of the writers on the film is John Buckley. He gets to start writing Hitchhike to Hell in 1977. He gets a screenplay credit on Suddenly the Light in 78, Malibu High in 79 he gets a screenplay for, and White Ghost in 88.
White Ghost?
White Ghost. Other writer on it is Thomas Singer, who in 1979 does the screenplay for Malibu High as well. And then in 1979, he also gets screenplay for Microwave Massacre.
Ah, yes.
That
That's
makes
a
sense.
classic. Yeah, no, I mean,
in hindsight,
yeah, not a Thanksgiving movie, David.
I mean, there's food, there's a feast. It's not a Thanksgiving movie, but I still snuck it in there.
At least there were cannibals in
there
that
were
one.
cannibals in that one. Yes. Fuck you. Cinematographer on the film is William De Diego. He gets his start as DP in 1962 on The Hour of St. Francis. Goes on to shoot Las Vegas Hillbillies in 1966, Diary of a Stewardess in 73, Angelica the Young Vixen in 74, The Amorous Adventures of Don Quixote and Sancho Panza in 1976.
You did all right with those names.
Yeah,
Good
not
job,
bad.
buddy.
Hitchhike to Hell in 77, Get It On in 77, Don't Go Near the Park in 79, and Malibu High in 79. He also directs in 72 Dead End Dolls, Sexcapade in Mexico in 73, and Diary of a Stewardess in 73 as well.
All right. So, I mean, that's like straight up just, he was in the knee deep in the exploitation business.
Yes, he was. Cast of the film includes Jill Lansing, who plays Kim Bentley. Malibu High is the only credit that she has. She was a one and done, basically.
I had a feeling, but you know, I got to say, she was game.
Yeah.
Because she seemed to just fearlessly do all of the weird shit in Malibu High.
I will talk about it in the notes, obviously, at the end, but not the easiest person to work with. Yeah.
I'm excited to learn more.
Tammy Taylor, who plays Annette in the film, she gets her start in 79 with Don't Go Near the Park, goes on to be in Malibu High the same year, California Fever, episodes of Chips, Happy Days, ABC After School Specials in 1980, Stone, 8 is Enough, The Young and the Restless, Days of Our Lives, Second Thoughts, Give Me a Break, Whiz Kids in 84, Meatballs Part 2 in 84, Loveliness in 84, Rituals in 84, New Love American Style in 86, Mr. Belvedere in 89, Little Bride Lie in 2012, Penny Arcade in 2013, The Wedding Dress in 2014, Just Us Guys in 2015, and most recently in 2016 was Daughters.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
she was doing some indie stuff there for a little bit. She's actually on a decent amount of the bonus content.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Other actor who plays Lance in the film is Garth Pillsbury. He gets his start in 1964 on 12 O'Clock High. Goes on to do I Spy in 66, The Invaders in 67, The Felony Squad in 67, Vixen in 66, Missy's Men in 68, episodes of Star Trek in 69,
Nice.
Medical Center in 69, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls in 1970, Miss Melody Jones in 73, The FBI in 74, If You Don't Stop It, You'll Go Blind in 75, Super Vixens in 75, Russ Myers.
Oh, yeah.
Goodbye Norma Jean in 76, Hughes and Harlow, Angels in Hell 77, Can I Do It Till I Need Glasses in 77, then does Malibu High in 79, Mistresses of the Apes in 79.
Oh, well, now we're talking about cinema.
Getting Over in 81, Loch Ness Horror in 82, Stacy.
What?
Yes.
Well, man, that is a film.
A feature.
That is a feature-length movie. That's a weird one. I saw the trailer for that on a monster compilation from Good Times.
Yeah.
And for years, I was like, I'm going to hunt that down one of these days. And then I did, and I was like, wow.
I think I had it on like one of like the really like 50 film packs or something like that.
Could be.
Yeah. I want to say
You don't want to get it confused with Loch Ness Terror. That's a different movie.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking
And
of
Loch Ness
then.
Terror, I feel like, was on some multi-packs. That was a somewhat more modern film.
Gotcha.
The Loch Ness Horror, woof. That was gosh, what was that director's name? I have a book about him called "It Came from Hunger." I believe that's about him.
Yeah.
And Larry Buchanan. He was an interesting guy. He just kind of like willed forward a ton of weird B movies, just fearlessly. Did some TV movies, did a lot of stuff. I'm trying to find something that you might recognize. Like he did Mars Needs Women. That was his first film, or one of his first films.
I know that movie.
Curse of the Swamp Creature.
I know that movie.
Zontar, The Thing from Venus.
Heard of that movie.
Attack of the Eye Creatures.
Heard of that movie.
So he had like a very strong career in the 60s. And then in the 70s, he did like Goodbye Norma Jean.
Yeah.
He did Mistress of the Apes.
Okay.
Which I think that was the one you were just talking about.
Yeah, both of those are on here. Yep.
He did did Hell Raiders and stuff like that. But then after Loch Ness Horror, he did Down on Us, and then he did Goodnight Sweet Marilyn, and then he kind of co-directed one more movie, and then that was it. Like that was toward the end of his career when like people were starting to go like, it's not as charming when you pull it all together with chewing gum and toothpicks like he used to.
So he does Loch Ness Horror in 82, Stacy's Nights in 83, My Man Adam in 85, Phoenix Forgotten in 2017, and most recently Skidoo Ruins in 2020. Which,
by the way, was my nickname in high school.
Was it?
Skidoo Ruins?
Skidoo Ruins.
You know it, buddy.
So what was your first time watching Malibu High?
Oh, it feels like it was just a year and a half ago. No, about a year and a half ago. Who was it that was at Wasteland?
I want to say it was the director of Satan's Little Helper, but he has nothing to do with it.
No, it wasn't him.
So yeah.
No, it was a guy, he was nearby.
Okay.
Him. He had to, I think he was an actor or a producer, and I feel bad. I should just looked at the copy. I could have seen like who signed it. But I ended up striking up a conversation with this guy, and he was like old time Hollywood kind of guy.
Yeah.
And we had such a good conversation. I just want to buy something off his table. So I bought Malibu High and had him sign it.
Hell yeah.
So I brought it home, and I think you were the one that was like, let's watch it.
Yes.
So we put it on. It looks like it's going to be a TNA comedy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's also, when you look at the date on it, it's just before those were really hitting a lot. It's definitely right in the midst of the exploitation genre, hence all the stuff that these guys were working on beforehand and stuff like that. So it's one of those things where it's like, I was surprised, but then not that surprised.
I get that.
That it turns out to be a really dark, confusingly fucked up movie.
Yeah. I
was very, very surprised.
So I had seen, I'd seen back in the day when Vincent had announced it. Cause I think, if you can correct me on this, but like Jack Frost was like one of their big first releases as far as like, oh, look at Vincent. They're actually kind of doing stuff.
That was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So before that, you would have the stuff like the House on Horror Highway, and they'd done Christmas Evil. They'd done Snapshot. They'd done a lot of releases of movies that were the exploitation, like lowbrow stuff.
Yeah, they had done quite a bit, and of course, I mean, the company was originally built on pretty much just smut.
Yeah. So Malibu High was one of those titles that I'd always been curious about, and then I can't remember who it was, but I had listened to or somebody talk about it on a podcast and couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was just like, this is that movie? Because like, again, you look at that cover, you look at the poster, you're just like, this does not look like anything except for a TNA comedy.
Yeah.
So
you're not expecting that amount of murder.
Yeah. When somebody compared it like, or gave it like neo-noir vibes and all this stuff, I was just like, what? Like,
yeah. It feels like a movie written by a space alien.
John Landis has a quote that Lawrence Fold, the producer that I'll talk about at the end as well. He has a quote from Landis that basically said it was neo-noir shot in daylight.
That's funny because that's accurate.
That's what John Landis said.
I don't think there might be like two nighttime scenes. In
two night scenes. There's the club scene, and I think like one of the waiting in the car sequences.
Yeah, which is smart. I mean, it's cheaper to shoot in the daytime.
But yeah, so that was basically like I had been looking at it. I've been looking to pick it up, and then you got it, and I was like, shit, I want to see this because I also noticed that it was on the going out of print soon list on Vincent. And I've gotten to a point where I don't want to blind buy unless I can flip it really easily, and those days have kind of gone with flipping very easily.
Yeah, now you got to like list them and stuff.
You got to list them.
You can't just post them in a group.
Yeah, go to shops or anything like that. So yeah, I waited to pick it up. We watched your copy, and immediately I was just like, I want to own this movie.
Well, it has that cozy exploitation vibe, which is extra weird considering some of these exploitation movies are literally full of nothing but like heinous dialogue, violence towards women, violence towards everybody, sex, rape. It's really, and yet somehow you're like, it's like a warm 1970s blanket.
Cozy. I think it's kind of
because we're broken.
It's that same thing that Jericho said when Joe Bob hosted Bloodsucking Freaks, while Jericho picked Bloodsucking Freaks. The movie itself is a heinous movie, absolutely, for what happens in it, but the acting is so not great, and the women, like, you know, they're not, like, they're getting their hands cut off and all this stuff, and just like, So it's just kind of like that same feeling of, like, the acting when it's a really bad, like, plot and story, it still kind of adds to that fun element of it.
That's kind of what I was saying about, like, the screenplay feels like it was written by a space alien.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, I love how people describe The Room as if an alien had watched, like, 100 movies and then wrote its own movie without any actual like
understanding.
That's the way it is kind of when you watch this, because like the logic makes no sense.
Nope.
It's just one thing to the next thing to the next thing. There's kind of no plot.
No, not really.
I mean, there's a point of sorts.
Yeah.
But like, so this falls back to me picking on you about 28 years later.
Yeah.
What is something that I have said to you from the first time we became friends when I'm pontificating about making movies? What's one of the most important things about a movie?
That it has to have an audience?
Oh, well, no. I'm talking about story-wise.
Yeah.
How it ends is everything.
Yeah, how it ends is everything.
Because where you decide to have the credits start going up tells you a lot about what you just watched.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if you're watching a movie and it's about, like, I'm just making stuff up, like a guy who needs to kill a woman.
Yeah.
Or something. But then the movie ends, you know, after he, I don't know, crashes his car or gets arrested or whatever, then you realize that that's not what the movie was about. The movie was about him failing to, or him coming to justice, or, I mean, that's just, I'm making one up. I'm not even talking about an actual movie, but that tells you a lot, because sometimes you'll watch a movie and there'll be so many threads. And then when it ends, you're like, oh, it was actually about X, Y, and Z. Like there have been like, especially some of our favorite, like, Christmas holiday movies and stuff, there'll be some major problem, but it'll end when everybody decides that they're happy to be together.
Yeah.
And that's when you realize, oh, the movie was actually about family.
I'm sorry to interrupt you real quick, but I'm thinking of a movie, and it's going to drive me crazy if I can't think about it. I'm hoping you've seen it, because I think we may have watched it together, but there was a movie, I cannot remember like anything about the plot, but I can remember the final scene. So spoilers, it's a man and a woman walking. Never mind, you haven't seen it. No, I just figured out what it was.
Ah, what a tease.
Shit. Yeah, no, it's the movie I was thinking of is called Naked Face with Roger Moore. It's a canon film.
Oh.
It's fucking insane.
But so my point is that, like, the way a movie ends and the moment it ends on can tell you, like, what you were supposed to be paying attention to.
Yeah.
Because the movie tells you based on what just happened is the thing that mattered to end the movie. Unless you get a movie like this where it basically had a non-ending.
Yeah.
It just kind of happens.
It just happens, yeah.
And
they can't all be Blindside.
Oh my God, right?
Blindside.
Oh man. But no, so that's kind of my point, is like, this movie's ending tells you very little.
Yeah.
Except that it was quite a ride, and that they really didn't have much of a concept. I mean, the comeuppance and such that we'll be talking about here very soon, because the movie is actually really brief.
Yeah.
But like, the comeuppance does make sense, and it's established and stuff like that, but it doesn't really play into any of the themes.
Yeah.
It doesn't really play, because the themes aren't really there.
We basically get the plot of the movie in the first 5-10 minutes, I would say, and then it doesn't change.
Well, I would say it's not even a plot. I would say it's just the story.
Just the story, yeah.
To be like Joe Bob about, like, you let the plot get in the way of the story.
Yeah.
Because there aren't really beats. It's this girl is mad about her life, and she decides she's going to change it up. And then she becomes one thing, then she changes to becoming another thing, and then she kind of becomes another thing a little bit, and then the end. So it's not, but like, there's no plot escalation.
No.
It's really just like a slice of life exploitation movie. And in a way that kind of makes it brilliant, though.
Yeah.
Because you're not really sitting there. You're literally just watching, wondering, what is she going to do next?
Yeah.
And that is hard to do.
Yeah.
Unless you're probably writing this in one weekend, maybe on cocaine.
Well, and I would say too that I think, if I'm remembering correctly, like, the actual, like, insanity probably doesn't start until like 45-50 minutes in.
But that's my point too.
Yeah.
it's a slice of life. At first, it's just her getting up and eating breakfast,
yes,
going to school and arguing, but then eventually the rails fall off. And you're like, what is even happening?
All right, let's get into it.
Yeah. Well, no, for a second, I was like, I almost just told you I could just tell you the whole movie like that. So no, but it's a strange ride.
Yeah.
It is not a great film.
No, it's not.
It is a delightful piece of sleaze cinema from the 1970s.
This is the epitome of your quote of, it's the kind of thing you like if you like that kind of thing.
Well, I stole that from Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, did you?
Maybe.
I mean, he didn't invent the internet.
Oh, it's true, and I don't know if he was really into theater, because I know it blew his mind. So hey, too soon.
So we open meeting Kim Bentley, who is having a tough time at home. She wakes up and is already getting nagged at by her mom. She goes out. She's having a cigarette with her coffee.
Her mom, who by the way looks like Wish.com Mary Steenburgen now.
Yeah. I would say that's accurate.
Because she's a much older lady.
Yeah.
So she looks like Mary Steenburgen now.
Yeah.
But then Mary Steenburgen would have been like 20.
Yeah.
Maybe even younger.
No,
about 20.
About
probably.
20, probably, yeah.
Because like 6-7 years later, she was going to be doing Dead of Winter.
Yeah.
What a great film.
Past episode, if you haven't heard. Great
just
one.
Amazing movie. So I was actually thinking about, that was one of the things that makes me happy about the show so much, is that we talked about a movie like Dead of Winter.
Yeah.
Because
now we're talking about a movie like Malibu High.
Like Malibu High. But I just want to mention, she kind of looks like Mary Steenburgen, but you bought her on Wish.
Yeah, no, that's accurate. So yeah, she's Kim's having a tough time with her mom. Her mom doesn't believe that she's doing well in school because she hasn't seen her like studying, and that she's worried that like it's basically going to come into a deadbeat situation.
Well,
and
also
graduation's approaching.
But also her daughter was going to eat breakfast while smoking a cigarette.
There is that, yes.
I love that is the problem. She's like, you don't eat while you're smoking. Which honestly kind of sounds like something my mother would have said, like not now, but would have said like in the 90s.
Well, then don't forget that she literally gets mad because her friend pulls up, honks once. And
no, she honks twice.
Is it twice? Okay. Yeah, honks twice.
That's why she's like, go out there. The neighbors are going to complain. Yeah, but her daughter, everything sets her daughter. She's like, well, why do you give a shit what they think, Mom?
Yeah.
and how mean she gets with her mom is fascinating thing.
It's something, yeah. So
and there are beats of brilliance, because like when we establish her family life a little bit more here in just a minute, that's my point though.
Yeah.
It's like you realize that like she has a really dark backstory. She has a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
And that makes monsters.
Well, and they even hint in this scene that like, I don't want you to end up like your father. And she gives her shit because she's just like, well, you drove daddy to do it. And that's all we get basically.
Yeah. For now.
Yes.
Yeah. Eventually Kim, right? That is Kim. Yes. Kim is not the kind of character to leave much unsaid.
Neither is Malibu High as a movie. Just it's going to pretty much lay everything out there for the most part.
But one thing, if you would take anything from this film, it would be you don't smoke while you're eating.
Don't smoke
breakfast.
while you're eating now, unless it's cigarette and coffee. Like that's
well, that's not eating. I mean, do you eat your coffee?
I mean, I can.
I believe you.
So she gets picked up by her friend Lucy, and we immediately also find out that Kim and her boyfriend Kevin have broken up recently because Kevin has now set his sights on Lucy or on Kim's arch enemy, Annette.
Oh, Annette. Who is like the tiniest, like most girl next door looking woman.
Yeah.
And then like the second she sees Kim, she's just like, what a piece of shit. Like it's so great. It's so great.
So they get to school, and Kim meets up with Kevin, and they're talking about this dance that's coming up. And she's like, am I going to see you there tonight? And he's like, well, I don't know what you're thinking, but yeah, I'll be there with Annette. But like, I'm like,
well, he literally, it's like they're having two different. Well, it's like they're having two different conversations, because he's like, we're through, and then she's like, okay, so are we going to the dance? It's like, lady, what are you doing?
So then we cut over to Mr. Donaldson's class, which is one of the teachers that Kim is not doing well, basically in all of her classes.
I was gonna say you have to narrow it down more than one of the teachers she's not doing well with.
So she is this where she asked him like if she can do anything, and he's just like, you have to basically apply yourself. Like that's all we get.
Well, because she's like, I want to do better. Yeah. So basically she starts saying like, meet me somewhere.
Yeah. Well, we haven't gotten there just yet.
Yeah. Sorry. It's
so we cut to the dance.
Together.
We cut to the dance
at the clearly a Mexican restaurant turned into a nightclub.
Yes. So Kim and Lucy are sitting at the table. Kim's smoking. She sees after a while that Annette and Kevin roll in.
Whoa. But was she eating while she was smoking?
She was not.
Thank God she learned.
Would you like to point out, though, what you noticed in this scene in particular was some of the lighting?
I mean, in that I noticed the lighting. No, there are multiple times where you could just see film lights with the gels on, pointed at everybody. And I really do think that the argument they made was, well, they put lighting up in nightclubs.
Yeah.
It's just, not like that, though.
Not like that, though.
No, because a movie light, you got the barn doors on the front, and then usually you would clothespin a gel to the front, a colored piece of plastic, basically, that doesn't melt or is hard to melt.
Yeah.
You would pin it on to make it change colors. And when you go to like a nightclub or any place before LEDs and stuff, when you wanted to color a light, you would put a gel on it, but you wouldn't affix it to the front like that. You would put the gel, it looked nicer.
Yeah.
So these they're just clearly the movie lights
just stuck.
Just right in the shots, shining yellow, red, and I think it was blue light around.
And this is in between shots of the dance floor where we see that one of the patrons is fucking barefoot.
Well, they're wearing like, what are those, like toe socks or something? They're wearing like socks where only your heel and your toes stick out. Like feet, like almost like foot warmers. Oh no, the dance scene, the best part about the dance scene is that it goes for an entire song.
It does.
So there are a few scenes, not many.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 that are like really long for no reason. Yeah. This is one of them.
This is one of them. I think the other 2 would be lovemaking.
Yeah. Where you're just kind of, because the dance scene, like after about a minute and a half of it, you're like, what am I supposed to be getting from this now?
Well, because we're cutting to patrons and whatnot.
But the patrons are cutting a rug because the dance moves are fascinating. There are a couple of people in the dancing that are just going nuts, including a very effeminate guy.
Yeah.
Who is just like going for it. I mean, just really going for it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Kim and Lucy are sitting at the table. They see Annette and Kevin walk in, and shortly after that, they leave the club. They go out front, and Kim's like, I want to go home. Like, I want to drink. Like, Lucy's not having it. She's like, I don't want to do that. She's like, well, that's all we've got. Oh, wait. Then they see their friend Tony, and I use the word friend lightly, across the parking lot. Tony's in a van, and he is apparently the neighborhood drug dealer.
Oh, yes. Really, he's the neighborhood criminal. Like, if you think about how benign the neighborhoods and everything are, but then there's just the one roving criminal who's just like, hey, what do you need? You need some weed or some prostitutes or some human trafficking or some tax fraud? Like, he just has all of it.
This guy, Tony, is played by Alex Mann, who was not only in I Drink Your Blood, but he also did the voice of Jimmy the Grape in the video game The Darkness, which was like the game that came out, I want to say like 2007-ish.
Huh.
But I mean, he was all over the interviews as well. Like, he was actually at the New Beverly like screening they had.
That's awesome.
Super cool guy. We unfortunately did lose him back in 2010 at age 68. But he was there 1 year before he passed, because it was actually it was a couple of years, because 2006 was when they had the screening at New Bev.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But no, Alex Mann is fantastic in this movie.
Oh, he's hilarious. And the moments where you get people that are very clearly actors, like actors, they stick out like sore thumb on a cold day.
Yeah.
I mean, you really notice.
And he is one of them, because immediately he's like, she asked him if they can buy something, and he's like, yeah, come over here. And she's like, no, let's do the deal right here, because what we find out is Tony is also the local pimp.
Yeah, and he wants any chance to get the girls in his shag carpeted
shag
van.
and wagon. Yes.
So shag in multiple ways.
So he tells her to come over, and she's like, no, we'll do the deal here. He's like, well, you gotta, I'm not gonna do the product out here. So eventually gets her in the van. She buys the weed and leaves. He tries to make a move on her. It doesn't happen. She leaves. They go back to the apartment, and they're smoking. And that's when we get the flashback that Kim comes home one day, is calling to her father, opens the door, and sees him hanging in the bedroom.
Well, and you got to paint a picture, David, because cinema is a visual medium. The way they did it was they just had her wear pigtails.
Yep.
But it's the actress again, dressed in like a little girl's outfit, opening the door and finding her father hanging there.
Hanging by, like, she opens the door and the feet are just hanging there, and then they pull back out and we see the body.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's jarring.
It's very jarring.
But the thing that makes this movie so bizarre is that you'll have something really heavy happen.
Yeah.
And again, it's like an alien wrote it because like there's no, because it'll be something really heavy will happen and then it'll cut back to like the music cue will be happy or what, like it's very, very disjointed.
Yeah. And this whole has led up to the fact that Kim has basically told Lucy that she's not happy with the life that she has. You know, that's why they went home to get wasted so that she can forget about it. She has this dream vision about remembering with her father and then comes out of it and is just like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm never going to basically suffer again. Like I've got all this figured out now.
Yeah. But also she's bizarrely obsessed with graduating.
Yes. Very, very obsessed with graduating.
Like no matter what she says she's going to do, she's also going to graduate. I guess because her mom says she can't.
Yes.
And also her ex said like, you know, yeah, right. Like you're going to graduate. You're failing every class.
Yeah. So the next day she goes to class. She goes to, what's his name? Mr. Donaldson's class, and class lets out. She goes up to his desk at the end and she's like, you know, hey, I know I'm failing. Like, is there anything that I can do? And he's like, you know, well, yeah, you got to apply yourself. And she's like, oh, okay, well, do you have any plans this evening? And he's like, oh, well, that's no concern of yours. And she's like, well, I'll be at High Point, you know, after you get out of work. That's where I'll be if you want to come see me. And he's like, well, I won't. And she's like, well, High Point's where I'll be.
Yeah.
Smash cut to High Point.
Of course.
Oh, wait, no, actually back up a second.
No, then she goes and talks to the pimp.
Yes. So she goes to talk to Tony and he's like, yeah, and she's like, you know, I need to talk to you. He's like, well, why are you waiting? Let's go, just hop in here now. We'll talk. And she's like, no, I don't have time. But I do want to talk to you. And he's like, all right, well, we'll talk tonight. So then we cut to High Point and Mr. Donaldson shows up and then they get down to the dirty.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's very weird because like it's done with like beautiful music and they're right next to the ocean.
Oh God, the music in this movie.
It's like they took a library of tracks and just went, all right, that one and that one and that one and that one. And then this one 5 times.
That is exactly what they did.
Oh yeah?
Yes. I'll tell you more about that.
I've edited a few things in my life.
Yes.
I've been there.
We'll spoil it now. Even the People's Court theme shows up at one point
during
before it was a show, by the way.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
People's
Court wasn't until like the 80s, 90s, 81.
Yeah.
The do
is the chase scene.
Do.
We'll get there.
First watch, we lost it. Because what happens is we're like, hey, that kind of sounds like the People's Court theme. And then the main riff kicks in. We're like, that is the People's Court theme. Okay.
So yeah, she ends up having sex with Donaldson. And we noticed one thing that I do want to point out is that Donaldson has a very weird birthmark on his leg that they focus on at one point.
Or bruise or something
ass,
like that.
I guess, yeah.
Well, that was his upper thigh.
Yeah. Because I think she said it's on its butt. Or like, I can't remember.
It was near there, yeah.
So yeah, by this point now, she goes to talk to Tony. And basically tells Tony that she wants to work because Tony had been trying to get her to work before.
Well, I love that she told Tony to meet her up that way at like 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like, so she scheduled like, I'm going to bang my teacher.
Yep.
And then I'll meet with the pimp at 9 while I'm already over there anyway.
Yep.
So she's clearly got project manager skills.
She does. If only she could apply that to school.
Or anything.
So she's now at sex with Mr. Donaldson. She's now working for Tony as well. They're doing a 40-60 split. Is that correct?
Yeah, 60 in his favor.
60 in his favor,
right.
Yes. So she's getting 40%. He's getting 60. And that leads us to a montage. Well, actually, let me back up. Tony says, obviously, he has to try the merchandise first before he knows what he's selling.
Yeah, he's very adamant. He's like, I can't sell, dope if I haven't tried it. I can't, I have to know if you're good. She's like, my stuff is good. He's like, just like.
So they end up shagging in the wagon.
Yeah, all we see is they both go back into that gross wagon, and then it's just kind of with
the fuzzy carpet.
It's shag for the shag.
Yep. So then this leads to a montage of her working for Tony, and this is shots of like 4 men standing outside the van while the van just rocks back
and a foreman because they were all construction workers. Well, at first it's just like one guy, and they use the van. Which, by the way, for the record, from a business standpoint, no, hear me out. When you first hear him say 60-40, I get 60, you get 40, you're like, that's not a very good deal. They're using his van.
They're using his van.
So that 10% is really just because he's providing the van.
His van is also moving, though, from spot to, like, they're not having one central location. They do move it
like
around.
all the benefits of a food truck.
Yeah.
David.
Well, that's the best part is he gets paid by that first guy, and he's like, I'm going to go get a hot dog. And just leave
I'm going to get a hot dog. You guys have fun. So at first it's like one guy and then one guy, but then it becomes just a line of construction workers waiting for their turn. Yeah.
So this also leads to Kim now getting some extra money. Obviously, she gets a new car and she starts getting into it once again with Annette. And one scene in particular, she meets Annette at school, or runs into Annette at school, and she ends up punching her.
Yeah.
With just like a throw.
Just, yeah.
Bop.
Yeah, boop. Just a little boop.
So there's tensions throughout Annette and her throughout this movie. Like I said, this movie's a bit of a mess, but
well, and when her mother is like, where are you getting the money? Or what are you doing for work? She says, I do relief work.
Relief work.
Solid joke.
Why don't you have any homework? Oh, I had field work today.
Yeah. Solid. Solid.
So the rest of this time with Tony, she's banging it out basically and getting her money, and then she gets to a point where she realizes that she wants more. So she goes to ask Tony if she can have more.
She wants a higher cut, and he gets angry.
He gets angry indeed. Now, let me back up a second, too, because by this point, she's also tried to persuade 2 other teachers and has persuaded one of them.
Right.
And the other one that is, I think it's Mooney is the second one that she sleeps with.
I think so, yeah.
Same thing at High Point. So the teacher meets her out there. So she slept with 2 teachers now.
Right.
And all she's trying to do is get straight A's.
Yeah, she wants to graduate.
She wants to graduate.
She even says to Tony at one point, like, I can't do this while I'm in school. And he's like, what? School? Why are you going to school anyway? And then right before she tells Tony she wants a better cut, she encounters a man on the beach.
Yes,
she's sitting reading a book on the beach, and this gentleman in a suit comes up and says he's a friend of Tony's.
Lance.
And
he knows everything about her. And he knows that she's not getting a good cut of business right now, and he could do much better for her.
Yeah, and he has higher scale clientele, better money, better cut. And she's like, oh, I'm happy where I am. I'm good.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, think about it. So then she goes to Tony, asks for more money, and he damn near whacks her. He does hit her in the face, not during this scene, but early on, she asks a question, and he just like swats her in the head. And he's just like,
because for the most part, I mean, he's a pimp, but for the most part, he's pretty cool with her. But yeah, this scene when he goes to ask for money is when,
he's like, you should be lucky. You're lucky you get anything. And all this stuff.
And you ask me one more time, you're getting nothing.
Yeah.
So then she leaves with her stack of money, and then the next scene, she is in Lance's arms.
Yep. And she sure hates Tony.
She sure hates Tony indeed. So Lance promises her basically the world, that they can have the 60-40 split, and also that she's going to have better clients. And this leads her to run into her first client.
Well, she sleeps with Lance.
Well, sleeps with Lance. Yes. Excuse me. Yes.
I mean, I know it's easy to forget all the times that she beds whoever, because this film is way out.
It's way
far out.
Yeah. So this leads to Lance setting her up with like one client that she goes to meet him at his hotel room. And I can't remember what his name was, but anyway, he's a rough guy, because he's immediately like, oh, you haven't worked for the agency before. I like you. We're going to have some fun. Starts taking out fucking manacles.
Yeah, chains. and like, I mean, like, this stuff looks like it came off of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, it's not like your general S&M gear. This is like heavy duty, like
also,
dungeon shit.
I think it's against the law to do S&M on a waterbed.
Yeah,
because he throws her down on the waterbed.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, like, I don't think that works. I don't think you're allowed to do that.
Oh, and we should also mention too that Lance introduces her to cocaine, because that was one of the perks of the job.
Yeah, just a little Bolivian marching powder to get you going.
So anyway, this guy starts attacking her in the hotel room, and one thing leads to another. She grabs a corkscrew off the nightstand.
Ice pick.
Excuse me. Yes, ice pick, and stabs him in the back, killing.
Yeah,
him.
She stabs him in a really odd spot that doesn't seem fatal.
Not in the heart, not near like anything vital.
Could have got his lung.
Yeah.
But he just like falls down dead.
Yes, and that is a trend in this movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a movie death or a TV death, you know, where from the old days where it's like you get shot one place and you just fall over and then your eyes are wide open. So you're just done.
Naturally, she's upset and goes to Lance to help out with the problem, and he's just like, it's nothing to worry about. We'll pin it on some patsy, like
you'll think. There's always some think that their people are tired of working with, which also suggests that he has like really deep mob ties.
Yes, and we do get that hint because he does mention Chicago at one point.
Yeah.
Because we are in Malibu High. That's the town we're in.
The town is called Malibu High? So it's Malibu High.
High.
Nice. I like it.
While this is also going on, we get a introduction into Annette's father, who is Mr. Ingersoll. And he is somebody that has been doing dealings with Lance's connections, it seems like. Because the way we get introduced to him is he's at his office, and he's just like, I'm not going to pay you the money. Like, you can blah, 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 blah. His daughter comes in wanting to buy earrings. $150 is what she asked, and he gives her $200.
Tells her to keep the change.
Yep, and to always think of him when she wears the earrings.
Aww.
But that's the introduction to his character. So we find out that basically once Kim has killed this person, Lance apparently sees something in her, because now Kim is kind of skipping classes altogether. Still trying to keep the grades and everything, but she's been staying at Lance's house. And one day, Lance comes home, and he's like, I've got a gift for you. and gives her a silenced pistol.
Yep, a pistol with a silencer on the front of it. She's very startled at first.
Yes.
And he basically explains, like, you're built for this.
Yeah.
You can make a lot more money shooting people dead. And he also makes it clear that, like, through whatever connections he has, because he always keeps it vague, that anyone that she kills, there's already been a plan made for who will take the fall for the murder.
Yep.
So all she has to do is just do it and leave.
Do the jobs and leave. Yeah. So her first assignment is killing Tony.
Because she has to cut all of her old ties.
Yeah, she has to cut all her connections off.
Wants to kill Tony.
And wants to kill Tony. So yeah, she's nervous at first. Then she gets taken out to shoot the gun and is a really good shot apparently, even though the one shot is somebody moving a board and bouncing a can off of it.
Well, yeah, no, it's very clever.
So I do want to back up though, because when she broke it off with Tony, all she did was call him and it's just like, hey, Tony, this is Kim. You can go fuck yourself.
Click.
And then she goes into Lance's arms and just hugs him.
Yep. It's a beautiful moment.
So yeah, she's broken off with Tony by this point, and she decides to meet Tony in a parking garage. He shows up and he's just like, what do you want to talk about? And she's like, this, and pulls out a gun. Gives him one shot in the chest, and he just falls completely on this car and dies.
Yeah, he turns around and falls like arms wide open and slides down the car. Also want to mention one of my favorite moments is when Lance is telling her, like, this is what your job is now. And he's like, no more sleeping with dirty old men.
Yeah.
Except for me.
Except for me. Oh, can I move in?
Yeah, and then she that's the follow-up is like, okay, he's like, well, you're already here all the time anyway, so why not?
Yeah. So by this point, her mom has grown suspicious, and she's like, how'd you get the money? Like, where's this car coming from? Like, how don't you have this homework? So she's starting to get a little suspicious, but she's still Kim's still wearing her down on this point. Kim goes back to school, talks to, is it Mooney? Donaldson, and is just like, hey, report cards are coming out. I hope you know what grade I expect. And he's like, well, what grade is that? And she's like, an A. And he's like, well, no, because I told you straight up, like, when we did that thing, like, that it was just between us, and it's...
Well, he even says something really messed up, which is he says, like, well, you haven't had any time for me in the last 8 weeks.
Yeah, in the last 6 weeks.
And I wondered if he meant the class or for more rendezvous.
I think more rendezvous.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
So he bluffs her, and he's like, well, yeah, you can go tell the school. Like, they're not going to believe you. Nobody saw me going that way. And she's like, well, I've got one thing. I know about the birthmark on your ass, and I can tell your wife. How do you think she'd feel if I knew about that? So then this leads to her getting found out by the school, essentially, because the principal, excuse me, let me get his name, which is Mr. Elmhurst.
Ah, Mr. Elmhurst, that deaf old bastard.
Yes, he is looking over her records. He sees that she has straight A's in everybody's classes except for her one English class, which is taught by a woman.
Yes. Yeah, so that's suspicious.
Suspicious indeed. So immediately she gets called to his office and she confronts him and he's like, well, can you explain this? And she's like, well, yeah, I'm doing good. He's like, no, I think there's more going on here. I'm going to have to talk to your mother about this, and gets a little upset, honestly, because they go back and forth and she notices that he's got a bad heart.
Well, because he struggles and has to take what I assume is a nitroglycerin pill.
Yeah.
Because his heart is like going crazy. So she tells him, come on over tonight. Then smash cuts to her at her mom's house, and her mom is all dressed up because this is the one night a month or week or whatever that she goes out.
Yes.
And she encourages her mom to definitely go out. Don't stay home. Go out. So that she can wait in her bathrobe for Mr. Elmhurst to show up.
Yep.
And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out, number one, that this dude is dead as hell.
Oh, yeah.
And number two, that she's probably going to exacerbate his heart problems with feminine wiles.
So what she ends up doing is she's in her bathrobe and she comes in, she takes his coat, takes the pills, and she's like, I'll be right back. Goes to the bathroom and we hear a toilet flush, meaning she flushed his pills down the drain.
Yes.
So she returns to the living room, takes off the robe, takes off her top, and is like straddling him. And he's just like, I can't believe you're doing this. I'm going to talk to your mother. Pills, yes. And starts having a heart attack, tries to get to his coat, gets to his coat, can't find his pills, dies on the spot.
Yep.
And she's just sitting there kind of like smirking at it. And then she runs to the phone, has a frantic 911 call, and then the next day, everything's fine.
Yeah. I mean, people think it's weird. Like, why was he there? And she's like, he wanted to talk to me about my grades or whatever.
So while this is all going on too, she's also killed another person for Lance. There's one guy that she rendezvous at High Point, ends up killing him. And this has now moved her up the chain. She's respected. She's doing a little toot, not too much though.
Yeah. Just a little powder to a little, David, a little sugar in your step.
Yes.
Makes you walk sweet all day.
And Lance gets her a new car.
Yes, and it's like a BMW or something. It's real nice.
Yeah. So this all damn, there's so much going on. So she has the new car. Lucy is kind of catching on that something is going on. She's just like, you can't have all these things just by doing what you're doing. Like, what else is going on? And she refuses to tell her, obviously. This all then leads to Lance telling her that he has one very big job for her.
Yeah. Not quite the one big job we do and then we all retire, but
Yes.
a big job for her.
Yes.
And this is about the only time that we really get a real like manipulating sense from Lance.
Yeah.
Which they never really expand on. We never see him like go full mean or go full controlling necessarily.
Yeah.
But it's worth mentioning. I mean, if you ever read like Iceberg Slim or anything like that, like the real deal pimps, they don't just like slap women around. They make them love them.
Yeah.
So in that way, Lance has done a really good job of making her love him.
He's wined and dined her. He's, he has basically invited her to live with him to the point that they are most likely going to get married, is what she's thinking.
Well, and they're planning a trip.
Yep.
They're planning a trip to Tahiti.
Yep. So this is all to the point. Now Lance comes forth and says, I want you to kill Mr. Ingersoll.
Oh,
Annette's father.
And she's really against it. At first
she's fine with it. Yeah.
But the next morning she's really against it, which I honestly didn't really understand why.
Yeah, I didn't either. I think it maybe because it's too close to home, because that's a connection that she has because of literally we did forget to mention there's one scene where Lucy and Kim are in her new car and they go to the school and Annette and Kevin are walking and she just flips them off and she gets so mad.
Yeah, that's where she's just like, that piece of shit.
Yeah.
She's such a piece of shit.
She's proving she's a piece of shit.
Why were you with such a piece of shit? Oh my God. One of the best scenes of the whole film.
Yeah. So there's already that tiff going on, but yeah. So she basically says like, she doesn't know if she's going to do it. And that's when Lance is like, well, hey, the guys in Chicago have been going to bat for you. You do this, they're not going to be very kind about it. And then this is where that kind of thing can happen to you that we talked about a Fink getting pinned. Like, this is the fuck up you could do.
Yeah, but he also tries to sell it mostly positive with like, but this will be really good for us.
Yeah.
This is a great score. It's really good. After this, you graduate high school, because that's her thing. Because even he's like,
high school? Like,
yeah. She's like, and then when I graduate high school, we'll go to Tahiti. And he's like, I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Which is, by the way, the thing, like every time she asks for anything, he basically says, I don't see why not.
Yeah. So Ingersoll also has apparently fucked over some men, and that's why Chicago wants him dead. So they put the hit on him.
He got too big. His head got too big.
Got too big, yeah. So she decides that she's going to call him, sets up an appointment for him at his beach house on a cliff.
Which is where he meets his girls.
Yes. So
yeah.
She shows up there, and he's just like, oh, it's nice to meet you, Kim. Like, would you like a drink? I'm going to get myself one. And she pulls the gun out. As he turns around, shoots him in the chest, probably the bloodiest death of the entire movie.
Yeah, he grabs onto the refrigerator and his bloody hand slides down.
One shot in the chest, done.
Oh, yeah,
done.
She's that damn good, David.
But what we don't realize, and what she doesn't realize, is outside of the house right now, Annette and all of her friends are rolling up in the car.
Including her ex-boyfriend.
To hang out for the beach.
Yeah, they're like, I'm just going to say hi to my dad and let him know we're here, and then we can go down to the beach.
So Annette's walking up to the house right as Kim is leaving, and she's still got the gun in her hand, by the way.
Of course.
Takes the suppressor off, and it puts the gun back in her purse, and then Kim catches eyes with Annette, and Annette's like, the hell? And then Kim just shoots her.
Yeah.
Nothing is said. Just bang.
Just shoots her and runs.
And
then it's time for People's Court.
Yes, because not only is Annette dead, but all her friends heard the shot, obviously. They rush over to her. So then Kevin and another guy run in the house. They see Mr. Ingersoll is also dead. And he's like, oh my God, that crazy bitch. I'm going after her.
Which was a little confusing because I didn't remember them seeing her shoot her.
I don't think they did.
But he knew.
Yeah.
It's just one of those like intimate connections. He just knew. He loved her once. He knows.
As we get to the finale, they are running down these huge steps to this cliff to the beach as the People's Court theme is playing.
Dirt, dirt, dirt.
So they're running across the beach, and finally she gets behind a rock. She pulls a gun on him, and he's like, you just turn yourself in, like you don't have to do this. And she's like, that's easy for you to say. You never loved me, and then ends up just shooting him because he's just like, well, if you're just gonna do it, just shoot me then.
He says, you bitch, you dumb broad.
Yeah.
I love that he says bitch, and then like rears back to broad.
And so she shoots Kevin, and Kevin is dead. Except No, because she shoots, and then we see that the cops above her on a cliff have shot her dead.
Who we didn't know were there in any way. We'd never seen them before. In fact, this is the first time law enforcement's really around at all.
Yeah. So Kim is then shot dead on the beach as the waves start hitting her body, and that is 1979's Malibu High.
You see what I said about where it ends tells you actually kind of nothing, except that it's just about her, because once she's dead, there's no more story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's as jarring as it sounds.
Now, we skipped over a lot of love scenes. We skipped over some very funny dialogue bits, but overall, that's the movie.
Yeah,
that is the movie.
The only part that I want to bring up is that she tells her mother that maybe the reason Dad killed himself was because he couldn't get it up for you.
Yes, there is that.
Solid.
There's a lot of meanness with her mom in this movie.
No.
So, would you like to guess what the budget was? There's no box office, but you just can you guess the budget?
$150?
$56,000.
It was that low.
It was that low.
It looks surprisingly good.
Yeah.
For being that cheap. Like it looks as good as like Friday the 13th or something. I mean, their first one, like it looks as good as like a $100,000 movie.
The original release of it was a double feature from Code Red. I'm sorry.
Were you going to sneeze or what?
I don't know what that was. Double feature from Code Red. That was this and Trip with the Teacher.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was shot at RF Studios in California, Santa Barbara, Redondo Beach, Palos Verdes, Zuma Beach, and it was shot in 5 weeks.
That's a lot of time for that movie that cheap.
Original title was High School Hit Girl.
That's a better title, but it's less bizarre and confusing.
Second title, Deadly in Denim.
I like that title a lot, actually. Did that ever get used beyond that? Because that's a great title.
Third title, Teen Terror.
That's accurate, yeah.
Fourth title, and what it was shot under, Lovely but Deadly.
That's an all right title.
Mark Tenzer was the one at Crown International Pictures who decided to name the film Malibu High.
Malibu High. Because
Malibu, Malibu Beach was a hit through them, I want to say.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Producer Lawrence David Folds became Hollywood's youngest producer, having made the film at age 18, according to The Hollywood Reporter.
Jesus.
Casting was done out of Irvin Berwick's office alongside Lawrence. They had put out casting calls through friends and acquaintances, including Russ Myers.
Oh, okay.
Producer Lawrence Folds said the first-time actress Jill Lansing was pleasant during auditions and did whatever she was asked, including taking off her clothes, but once she was cast, she became very demanding and difficult to work with. This ended up being her only role.
Jeez.
Tammy Taylor was found via acting classes at UC Santa Barbara. She was 18, that's Annette. Mm-hmm. When cast in Malibu High, she attended school at UCSC and shot the film at the same time.
Okay.
So she was going to classes and shooting the film at the same time. Everyone supplied their own wardrobe.
I believe that 100%.
Tammy Taylor recalls it was guerrilla filmmaking as they used 3 different schools to act as Malibu High. There's also a Mexican restaurant that doubled as a club. No permits at all were pulled for this film. The house interior for Kim's house was built on a set at the Brooks Institute for the Santa Barbara Institute. However, production had to leave when rumor had spread that a porno was being shot at the Institute.
And I mean, calling this a porno is pretty extreme. It's definitely a raunch movie. It's definitely a TNA movie, but yeah.
Taylor recalled that while she got along great with her cast Stuart Taylor, who played Kevin, he was a very funny guy and down to earth. She felt that Jill was a bit intense and made her intimidated as she was nude a lot on the set. Taylor's heart sank when she received a call from her sister-in-law from Portland, Oregon, who had seen the movie with her brother and their church friends, commenting it wasn't the movie they expected.
They expected it to just be sex, no murder. They went to see Malibu High.
As her mother and father also commented, you were very good in it.
Oh, that's parents for you. That's parents for you.
Taylor's death scene ended up ruining her favorite sweatshirt when the fake blood stained it so bad that they could not get it to clean.
You gotta mix Ivory dish soap into the blood ahead of time.
That makes sense.
It comes out a lot easier.
Yeah. Jill Lansing had never acted before. Her audition caused a fight between Lawrence and Irvin, as he wanted to cast a typical blonde sun bunny, but Lawrence fought for Jill while not fitting the look that they had in mind. She had impressed him with the acting.
All right. She was like, she's not bad by any stretch, but she does feel like an odd choice.
She does, yeah. Originally budgeted out for a canned music library, even though Lawrence had tried to convince Irv that they needed a stronger soundtrack, Lawrence reached out to musician Steve Mylan, who was also an investor on the project, to write a song for the movie, which became the title track, Lovely But Deadly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the song plays in the beginning, and there's also an instrumental at the end.
I mean, that's a class act right there.
A big screening was held for the cast and crew at the completion of the film in Westwood, inviting distributors unaware that most didn't attend the same events, which became clear when some even requested a print of the film to watch on their own. However, the next day, Mark Tenzer, the president of Crown International, called Lawrence, telling him he loved the movie and invited him to his office. Lawrence recalled that Tenzer slid him a contract with a $25,000 check paperclip to it. When Lawrence tried to flip through the contract, Tenzer stopped him, telling him, there's no need to read it. It's all boilerplate stuff.
I mean, let me tell you something about contracts. You know, like, I mean, I've negotiated my more than my share of contracts in my life. And first of all, boilerplate, never something you want to hear.
Yeah, I can see that.
Generally, when somebody says a contract is boilerplate, that means it's standard. And that may sound great, but you see, usually a boilerplate contract has the most favorable elements to the person issuing the contract.
Yeah.
Because that should always, your first offer should always be what benefits you the absolute most so that you can counter. One of the first times that I kind of like startled a distributor when I was working on getting distribution for a movie was when they sent me a contract and I said, I said, thank you. I'm going to look it over. I'll see if I need to redline it and I'll get back to you. And they were shocked that I even knew about redlining, which is just where you cross things out that you're not willing to be okay with. And then they look at it and then they may go, okay, we'll get rid of that and we'll get rid of that. But like, we're not going to get rid of that. Yeah. Are you okay with that? That's the negotiation.
Yeah.
And redlining a contract, so important, but don't do it just to do it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to do it because some people do that. They'll redline everything just to show that they have balls.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You don't want to do that. But like, what was it? A friend of mine was dealing with a distributor and he was worried because one of the deliverables that he was required to give, he was like, I don't know how I can get that. And I don't even know why they would need it. And I was like, well, why didn't you redline it? Why didn't you just cross it out and say like, I'll do everything in here, but you know, the two things I redlined. And he was like, I didn't know. It's like, you should call them right now and see if you can just not turn that in.
Yeah.
And it'll be okay anyway.
Yeah.
Another tip, if you change anything after a contract is signed or right before it's signed, do it via email because they can hold up in court.
Okay.
Don't do it over the phone unless you're recording the call.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But do it in an email because that is if you're not in a realm where you can have a lawyer every step of the way, that's good. You want everything in writing because then if you had to go to court, you could show the judge or the mediator or whatever, like right here in black and white, he said that this element no longer mattered or that he would give this amount in this date. Really important. Also, don't say anything fucking stupid in writing.
Yeah, that's fair too.
I had a buddy, I can't say who, but had all of their emails subpoenaed during a lawsuit. And
fuck, I remember
he called me and was like, hey, he's a friend. And he just wanted to talk some shit. He was like, hey, I just want to talk some shit about people, but I don't put anything in writing anymore after I had a lawyer have to be legally given my password to my email address. So I'm just going to call you on the phone if I have anything stupid or funny to say. And I was like, fair enough.
So Lawrence naively signed the contract while he states Crown made $10 million on the film. They still send him checks to this day. While small amount, he still is content that they never missed a check. 120 prints of the film were struck, and it had 3 theatrical re-releases.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm impressed that they paid him, especially if he said, don't read the contract.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, I feel like I don't need to say that's a red flag, but that's a red flag, by the way.
Mark Tenzer and Lawrence Folds approached Jill Lansing to be the woman on the poster for the film. Upon hearing this, Lansing requested a large amount of money to be the poster model. This led to Tenzer going around Lansing and hiring Playboy bunny and actress Mary Margaret Humes, who was also in History of the World Part 1 with Mel Brooks, to be the featured model on the poster. Newsprints wouldn't carry the poster until a bikini strap was drawn onto the model's back.
I gotta tell you, this is another thing about making posters.
Yeah.
Nothing amazes me more than when people are like, is that girl on in the movie? And I'm like, not exactly. I mean, like usually you don't want to show the face of somebody not in your movie.
Yeah.
But then I always point out, like, Slumber Party Massacre, 2 of those girls were in the movie.
Yeah.
And they're not really recognizable because it was way after and their hair was different and stuff. The most common thing in the world is just using a model for a poster. God, in the 90s, every Trauma VHS and then DVD for a long time had Debbie Rochon, whether she was in the movie or not, and had Tiffany Shepis, whether she was in the movie or not, and a couple other people.
Yeah.
Like, it's
that was
just
what you did.
Well, but you buy the picture, to quote a good buddy of mine. You buy the picture. So make it a good picture. Damn it.
Movie poster artwork by Mort Druckner of Mad Magazine. So if you look closely, you can see Alfred E. Newman peering from the back row as one of the gawkers. You totally can. I checked my Blu-ray. Oh, yeah.
I'm just looking that up while you're talking, but I believe you, but I have to see it.
He is in the back. You're going to look.
I'll find him.
Yeah, back left, I want to say. During the chase scene, a familiar tune of that era was played called The Big One, which was also used as the theme song for the daily syndicated TV show, The People's Court.
Holy shit, there he is.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
Folds showed the film to his buddy John Landis in the early 2000s. Landis replied by telling Folds this is a film noir shot in daylight, and at the New Beverly screening in 2006, Folds told the crowd that he and Landis were working on a remake screenplay, but nothing has materialized in nearly 20 years now.
That's a hard, I mean, like...
How are you going to do this?
How are you going to do it again?
Yeah. A terrible VHS release was put out of the movie that was from a TV cut. However, due to the missing footage taking a large portion of the film away, California stock footage of beaches, animals, landmarks was put in place amongst the missing shots.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's really, really funny.
Irvin Berwick is the sleazy old man who's seen in the restaurant with Kim. So he is the one that is at the table with her in that scene.
Also, can I just for a moment mention that, think about that though. Like, okay, so a movie like Malibu High, which is equal parts murder and sex and delinquency.
Yeah.
They were like, we need a TV edit because we're going to sell this to some TV. The world was so different. There was such a hunger. A really great read on the Al Adamson box set from Severin.
Yeah.
They talk about, because they have all the TV versions of certain things, because they would like almost make an entirely new movie just for TV because they had to remove so much stuff.
So much of it, yeah.
So it's really like, that was an era where like you could sell almost anything to television. It makes me think of how USA Up All Night would literally show sex comedies.
Yeah.
And they would try to creatively edit, but eventually they were like, just blur, which is not usually a popular practice with movies.
No.
It's more of like with reality based things like Cops or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, just blur. And I remember when they were putting money into movies, USA Up All Night would put money into those. They would be like, you have to shoot something else. Like, I think Nightmare Sisters, when it showed on there, they like the bathtub scene that's like obscenely long.
Oh, yeah.
They gave them a little bit extra money to go and shoot something else.
Gotcha.
Just to replace that scene, because the running time has to be long enough for the 2 hour. I mean, because the 2 hour slot, of course, there's commercials and the host segments, but it can't be 60 minutes, you know?
So lastly, the first time Quentin Tarantino met Lawrence, he exploded with enthusiasm, stating how Malibu High was one of his favorite movies.
Who said that? I'm sorry.
Quentin Tarantino.
I believe Tarantino would love that though.
Oh, yeah.
Because Tarantino loves a good character study. It's just he also loves a plot.
Yeah.
Personally.
And exploitation in general.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. So what are your final thoughts on Malibu High?
I mean, it's a stream it. You don't need to own this.
No.
I mean, I honestly, if I hadn't bought it, I wouldn't buy it.
Yeah.
But now that I have it and I have a signed copy, it's just going to stay in my collection because it is an oddity that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
But it is... And that's what it is. It's an oddity worth enjoying. If 1970s exploitation is your jam,
late 70s too.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Is this was like at the tail end of that. It's kind of like how interesting the late 80s slasher movies can be.
Yeah.
It's at the tail end of that era. This movie was made with zero preconceptions.
Yeah.
It was made with zero thought beyond we're making this kind of movie today, now, go do it.
That sounds about right. Yeah. It's definitely a stream it for me as well. This, as I said at the beginning of the show, it's the kind of thing you like if you like that kind of thing. This is the epitome of an exploitation film. If you're not into that, you're probably not going to like this.
No,
but if
you will not at all.
If you are wanting to watch one and get some friends together, maybe get a pizza, maybe have some beers, this is the perfect movie for that.
Oh yeah, that's a beer and pizza movie, 1000%.
Yeah, so yeah, it is a stream it for both of us. We always like to end the show with a couple of recommendations. I have two this week, starting with 2003's 13, currently rentable on Prime and Fandango. A 13-year-old girl's relationship with her mother is put to the test as she discovers drugs, sex, and petty crime in the company of her cool but troubled best friend.
That film was everywhere when I was 13, 14 years old. It was all over Showtime.
Oh, yeah.
And HBO and Cinemax. And it caused a lot of uproar because it was, I think it's actually a very good film.
It is.
But it is very exploitive of legitimately young girls.
Yes.
It's very telling of that era when girls were kind of growing up and they were getting navel rings and they were wearing thongs when they were like 12 and 13.
In their bedroom.
Well, I mean, so it's pretty crazy. And I highly recommend, if you like the movie 13, there are some great YouTube documentaries about how like they blew some elements of it way out of proportion. Like the not the lead in it, but the other actress in it who co-wrote it,
Nikki Reed,
I think that's her name.
Yeah,
but she co-wrote it, but like it got blown way out of proportion. Like she said it was like based on her life, but she was like, well, no, like we embellished it. I just saw a lot of things,
stuff,
and then we made them way worse.
Yeah.
Like she was like, I wasn't like literally running around every night doing drugs and sleeping with boys. I just saw people being really reckless.
People thought it was a life story thing with her.
Yeah. And that kind of hurt her career for a long time.
Yeah. The other recommendation I'm going to go with is 1980 Foxes. A group of 4 teenage girls come of age in the asphalt desert of Los Angeles, San Fernando Valley, arranged with blazing soundtrack and endless drinking, drugs, and sex.
That's a fucking film.
Foxes is, I wish it was more readily available. That's the only bummer is you're going to have to search that one out. There was a Blu-ray. I don't know if it's still around or not. I don't even know if I still have my Blu-ray, actually.
Oh. I
need to check that out. But yeah, Foxes is one I cannot recommend enough. Cherie Curry from The Runaways is in it. It's a really, really good flick.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your recommendation, sir?
I was thinking, I was racking my brain, what do I want to do? And I decided instead of going with like literal themes, I would go with a film that makes me feel the way this film makes me feel. And one of my favorite films as far as exploitation trash is 1973's The Candy Snatchers.
Nice.
Which I'm shocked you didn't mention, honestly.
It was there, but it was just like I didn't want to go.
Do you love that movie as much as I do? I feel like you do.
Yes, I do. Absolutely. Because I saw it because of Andy.
Yeah, it was at Horrorama.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see that one. I saw it because I heard about it at Horrorama.
Oh, you didn't see it at Horrorama. Yeah, I did. It was a hell
I saw
of
the
an
trailer
experience.
at Horrorama.
And an interesting choice because it's really not much of a horror movie.
No.
But from
sleazy as all get out.
Oh yeah, from 1973, a non-verbal autistic boy stumbles upon a teenage heiress who has been kidnapped by a trio of young psychopaths who are intent on extorting diamonds from her stepfather.
God, that's a twisted movie.
It's a wild movie, but it has all those exploitation elements, including like the music that doesn't quite make sense to what's going on. It's mean-spirited, but for some reason, and I wish I could tell you why, I find it oddly cozy.
Yeah.
So The Candy Snatchers from 1973, and it is streaming on Plex, and that might be it.
Yeah. There is a Blu-ray that came out from Vincent. I believe it is still available too. So if you are a physical media person, yes, you did.
Yeah. No, I ever since I saw it in the theater, and maybe that helped a lot too. I saw it on like an old 35 millimeter print, and I had to have it. You know, it just, for some reason, it just really clicks.
It's a wild movie. So do we have any emails?
Still, by the way, still in print on Blu-ray. You can get a copy. Diabolique even has a copy for cheap right now. They're not paying me to say that, but I figured I would.
They're good guys.
As far as emails go,
yes,
we do.
Oh,
we have 2 emails because that always happens when I say no one loves us when we have no emails. This first one, and this is an interesting one. I skimmed it a tiny bit because it was a little long.
Okay.
But this one's from our buddy Phil.
Okay.
And the subject is surviving the game.
Hell yeah.
Hey guys, John C. McGinley is a genius. He's always a genius, such a great actor. If you liked his performance in Surviving the Game, Intensity 1997 is a good follow-up.
That's one that somebody commented that. I think it might have been him.
You should hunt that down. I've never seen it.
I've never even heard of it. Yeah.
Hunt that down. My God, is he great in that movie? Decent horror with no gore, but makes up for it in John C. McGinley going unhinged for 3 hours. I want that movie. Shit. Dave, find that movie.
I'm checking.
Only problem is it's very hard to find. A lot of Fox TV horror movies from the 90s have disappeared into the ether. Don't know why they hold on to things like their Stephen King movies they made back then.
It's based on it. I was wondering. It's based on the Dean Koontz novel, the one that got sued because of High Tension.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Also, I also snuck the VHS of Surviving the Game out of the video store because they wouldn't let me rent it. I wanted to watch it and found a way. Worth it. Unfortunately, someone got a Jurassic Park when renting Surviving the Game. Next line, I was a weird kid. Hey, man, you're in the right place then.
Apparently referenced in Cabin by the Lake. So says IMDb.
You say a lot of things. Thanks for your podcast and your movies. I found a podcast where the hosts actually watch and care about the same films I do. Oh, and this is interesting. So this is what I'm excited to talk about because he asked this question at a perfect time.
Yeah.
I have a question. What's it like working with Mark Polonia?
Oh, there you go.
I was surprised when I saw Henrique David in the opening credits in Real Monsters and heard your voice. You know what's funny is I had to rack my brain because I couldn't remember where I put my voice. the opening scene, and so I produced on a kids movie called Real Monsters.
Yeah.
And without going into a ton of detail, because it's not really my details to give, the opening sequence, there's a mother and a father are arguing, and you hear the sound as the kid's running away from home, upset. It's very like classic kind of kid going to camp and get away from his household. This is a trivia for people who may, for whatever reason, be fans of Real Monsters, which I thought actually turned out really well. The mother and father screaming at each other in the opening of Real Monsters, which I think is on Tubi and stuff now, was myself and my monthly spooky co-host Michelle Antisocial doing the voices. So that's a little trivia for you, because I don't think either of us are credited. I honestly love their movies. Indie as hell, and they make fun zaniness and run with cheap budgets as much as they can. They are some of my go-to movies when I'm down. So before I finish the email, I'll tell you right now, on Real Monsters, I was not only a producer, I was the director of photography. So I worked next to Mark every day of production. Mark is the nicest, most funny guy. He's a humongous movie nerd. His knowledge of making movies in the through the whole 90s and the early 2000s fascinated me forever, because he had done business with companies like Dead Alive Films and stuff that I had only ever heard of them. They were out of business before I even picked up a camcorder, but they were known in that era for like distributing tons and tons of stuff. He told me all about like when they sold feeders to Blockbuster directly. It was one of the craziest things ever. Mark is the coolest dude. He's super nice. I did a event at the Mahoning Drive-In at VHS Fest, and I was sat next to him at a table, and we just hung out, had a blast. I love Mark. And I'll give you some straight talk that nobody knows about this. I mean, you do, but you're like around all the time.
Yeah.
I am in the middle of producing 2 more films with Mark, because after working with Mark a few years later, I produced a film with him directing called Snow Babes, which is right now available on Tubi, Fossum, anywhere you watch movies for free on AVOD.
You just uploaded it to YouTube, didn't you?
And it's on my YouTube channel. You can watch it there too. But it's available wherever you watch movies. It was Mark's first non-horror movie. It's a comedy, a lighthearted kind of raunchy comedy. It was honestly one of my favorite films he's done in forever, because Mark is very funny. And I don't feel like he gets to show that off enough.
Yeah.
There's a part in the movie where Mark plays a character and he's like a total sleazebag. He shows up toward the end. He's a total sleazebag, but he sits down with one of the girls as a bunch of stuff is happening. He just sits down with one of the girls and says, "I just want you to know you're a really wonderful girl." And the girl literally goes, "Shut up," and just slaps him in the face. And then he doesn't like, because it was extra funny because it came out of nowhere. Why was he saying that anyway?
Yeah.
But like, she just goes, "Shut up," and just whacks him in the face. I think Snow Babes is really one of Mark's finest, funniest films. But Mark is currently making 2 films that I'm producing. Like they're literally shooting right now. I have not mentioned it publicly anywhere. I'm literally working on the posters right now.
Yeah.
So 2 more films from Mark Polonia, produced by yours truly, are going to be available very, very soon. And just a quick plug, my Patreon patrons, anybody who pays more than $10 a month on Patreon, will get to see the films the moment they're locked. That's because awesome. I always release the films as long as I'm allowed to, right there first. So if you're curious and you finally want an excuse to sign up for the Patreon, when those films are done, which will honestly probably be a month or 2, they'll be up there before they go to Tubi, before they go to Amazon Prime or anywhere else.
So I do have an update. There is a burn on demand of Dean Koontz's Intensity on Amazon for $17.86.
Well, I look forward to watching it with you.
And also, I did find it on Dailymotion in 19 parts.
I'd say just buy the on-demand.
We'll see.
I mean, I'm just saying, it sounds awesome. But anyway, so that's your Mark Polonia info. I was thrilled to get to talk about Mark a little bit. He's a great dude, and truly one of the most prolific guys. Working with him was fun, although chaotic. Mark is go, 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 go. He's always ready to shoot more. He's always ready to move on. He edits insanely fast too. Mark is Mark. And as long as you don't try to stop Mark from being Mark, you'll have a great time working with him. Anyways, thanks again, guys. Keep making fun movies, Phil. So, hey, Phil, well, now you know there's 2 more coming. I would tell you the titles, but I really got to keep that a secret until they're ready for release. But they're fun. They're comedies with quasi-horror elements.
Oh, yeah.
And our final email.
Oh, yes.
This is from our good buddy Maurice.
Okay.
Great episode on surviving the game. It made me want to go back and watch it again. It still sucks and needs to be, it still sucks and needs to be that it. Oh, no. It still sucks and needs to be forgotten about. Just kidding. I consider that movie to be one of the top 10 action movies of all time.
It's a good one.
Looking forward to seeing you guys in July. Oh yeah, he's coming to town in the end of July. I don't know if I told you that. Well, Enrique and Rachel at least, because Dave will be too busy, tubing. You never know with Dave. Oh,
yeah, I mean that's fair.
My girl is looking forward to meeting everyone as well, and she's never had Indian food, so that'll be fun. But since this is a movie podcast, I'm still waiting on that Gladiator episode, and not the Russell Crowe one. I know it's only been a couple of weeks, but I'm impatient and pulling the friend card on this one. And don't do it. That's cool too. Won't stop me from looking at you guys as brothers. Aw, thank you, awesome, Maurice. Thank you. And I forgot to mention at the beginning, if you want to send us an email, by the way, our email address is doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com. That's doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com. Or you can go to doyouevenmovie.com and send us an email through there. All of our information is on doyouevenmovie.com.
It is.
We also, welcome you to leave comments via Spotify or on YouTube if you're watching the video version of the podcast. We always are happy to hear from you.
We are.
And I want to also mention that the shorts from the Jaws the Revenge episode got a little bit of anger.
I saw that.
And I'm happy about it.
Me too, honestly.
Cope and seethe, losers. Cope and seethe. What are you going to do? Curse me with voodoo so a shark comes after me? Come on. I ain't afraid of yous.
Yeah, I noticed on YouTube we were getting a little play.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Come at me. Come at me, bro. I will say, though, that one gentleman commented that with Penitentiary 2 or 3 existing, you can't call it the wildest sequel. I agree and disagree, though.
That's fair.
But I'll tell you why I disagree.
Why do you disagree?
Was Penitentiary 1 like an amazingly good movie?
No.
That's the only reason. No, is that it may be as wackadoo as possible, but it's the fact that Jaws the Revenge is a sequel to Jaws.
Yes.
That makes it kind of extra. It's the comparison, I guess, to me anyway.
So speaking of sequels, would you like to know what we are talking about next week on the show as Life's a Beach Month continues?
I suppose I do.
So we are going to take a trip back to Southport, but not really, though, because we are going into I Still Know What You Did Last Summer from 1998.
Hush, David.
Currently rentable on Prime and Fandango, not streaming anywhere, which I was kind of surprised with because we're going to be doing this the week that the new one's coming out.
Yeah, that is strange.
Yeah. So... But yeah, that is what we are going to be talking about.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
Me too.
I really have a soft spot for that sequel.
Actually, let me check if it is streaming because I just realized it is the 1st of July as we are recording this.
The first. So, but thank you guys again for joining us on Do You Even Movie? We really do appreciate it. If you're listening to us on your podcasting app, make sure you're subscribed. Consider leaving us a 5-star rating. It really makes a difference on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We really do appreciate it. And if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you click subscribe.
Yes.
And you'll see a new video from us every single week.
You will. And I Still Know is not streaming anymore.
That's a bummer.
That's odd.
Yeah, that is odd.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
we'll
talk all about it next week on the show, though.
Oh, we will. So I guess all that's left to say is I have no joke. What do you say with Malibu High?
I mean, you're proven to be a real piece of shit's the only line that it can come.
See you next real piece of shit.
Or you can screw the school, or you can screw the teachers, but you can't screw the school.
And she says, maybe. Or what she says, watch me. We'll see you next Tuesday, guys. Boy, howdy. I need a shower after that movie.